All right, folks. So, for those of you who have been watching other people discuss it or aren't completely in the know, today we're going to talk about fucking Nintendo and how they have lost their motherfucking minds, more so than usual, even. Uh, so, let me preface with this because I've had people accuse me before of being a console fanboy. Um, I own multiple consoles. I've got an Xbox One, I've got a fucking Switch, I've got a PS, and I do have some games on PC that I play. If you've watched the channel, you know that already, but some people are stupid. So I mostly use the Sony console because the Sony console happens to A, have a lot of the games I want to play on it in a means I can easily access them, not have everything locked onto a Game Pass online feature, and not be pulling a Steam. And I have some credit to give Steam. We will get to that in the process of this, but where it's not all digital, and I can use some import games without having to fuck with anything most of the time. So that's kind of where I am on that. Now this whole Nintendo thing,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sure you can agree with me. Over time, we've gotten more and more frustrated with Nintendo, and that's considering the fact that I don't hate Nintendo by any means, at least not Nintendo games, not Nintendo properties. I played the NES back in the day. I liked Mario and Zelda, and especially Metroid, F Zero, Star Fox, all the good shit back in the day. The issue is more that Nintendo as a company have almost always been bastards in the corporate sense. They're terrible, terrible fucking people in the company sense. They have done this thing where they make deliberate artificial shortages to oversell on items. They
Maybe
do
we should
limited releases. Go ahead.
maybe we should talk about the actual
I'm gonna
subject.
get to that, but I want to bring this up because it's all stuff that nobody likes to talk about, and it leads right up to this current bullshit.
Okay.
Now, there are certain YouTube channels I will credit Radical Soda, Smash JT, and Arlo for examples of people who are Nintendo fans who call out, pretty routinely when they pull bullshit on their customers. So, what we've had recently is this whole Nintendo Switch 2 thing, and by extension, the issue with Nintendo Switch 2 games. I'll let you get started in on the console thing before I get in on the game issue.
Okay, well, so really some of the basic things come down to this, and I'm going to mention a couple of different things. So we have the situation in which the pricing has been blamed, and it was preemptively blamed on tariffs, even though I'm guarantee you they had already worked out a price months and months before Trump was even elected.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of it, when you see the price in Japan as to the prices outside of Japan, you can tell it's just Nintendo trying to bilk the rest of the world while not shitting where they live. And quite honestly, it's because their leadership are spineless cowards. And it's really not a good situation in that regard. I expected it to be slightly more expensive outside of the world of Japan, but the degree to which is kind of ridiculous. The other element is when you have variable pricing
Oh, I'll
and
get to that
you
when we get to the games.
lived through the 80s and 90s with freaking Nintendo, yeah, it's exactly the company I expected to pull this kind of odious BS.
And like this console thing, the original Switch was like 300 something dollars new, I think. Now they're talking about 450 originally. They were talking about 450 USD, and then they pulled all the foreign pre-orders so that they could analyze their pricing structure and reevaluate. Which tells me
They're
that they're probably looking to make it even more expensive outside of Japan because they found a way to conveniently blame it on tariffs, which are already being renegotiated.
Oh, there's the other element. They could be thinking it's a 3DF situation and they're going to drop the prices, but you never know. It's Nintendo. Nintendo
Yeah,
has a track record of being very a very vile company in business terms. I don't care how much nostalgia people have for
Mm-hmm.
them. The way they've treated retailers, the way they've treated customers, the way they've conducted themselves is every way of a company that would do this kind of odious bullshit. It's just how Nintendo is. And
And
hey,
I would
look, I
also
like a
like
lot
to,
of their properties, but
yeah,
they're still a despicable company in that
I would
regard.
like to point out too that just as bad as this is for people in the U.S., when you look at people like like Radical Soda, for example, lives in New Zealand, I believe,
Brazil, Australia,
Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere where the Nintendo players get fucked already by import taxes and all this other crap, where something costs twice what it does here. And now you're looking at a $450 console, and they're talking about having games between 70 to 80, maybe up to $100, and I will get to that here in a minute. So you have other countries who are going to get it even worse than us if they pursue this bullshit.
and it's really going to also depend on where you live, depending on sales tax, import tax.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's not even pretend like the U.S. tariffs in Japan are a factor, because they're already talking in regards to even maybe not have them.
Mm-hmm.
There are tons of countries that put import taxes on these consoles. We've known that it's insanely expensive in Brazil, for example,
Yeah.
to
Oh.
get a console. All they're doing is creating a situation where Nintendo consoles are now going to have to be priced closer to these others, or even like PC gaming, and people are going to go, well, what's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have Nintendo talking about variable pricing, where they might increase entries of games cost based on what they perceive the value of it
All right.
is.
Let's get into that. So it wasn't long ago, and again, in the most brain dead move ever, during one of their little, whatever the fuck you want to call them, discussion videos, presentations,
A bad idea.
where they decided to get into this variable pricing thing, and they tried to cutesy it up with like a CGI Bowser in the background pacing around, which
Well,
was
actually,
made it even dumber.
the thing you're referencing, I believe, is an interview with a
Yeah,
reporter. That was just one of their presentations.
yeah.
Um,
Well, let
the
me get to that. So
Go ahead.
basically, the gist of this is they're talking about variable pricing. And the means in which they mean to determine this variable pricing is a fucking laugh and a half. They're, to paraphrase, their assumption is that they're going to alter pricing based on what they call the longevity, durability, engagement slash involvement of said game release. So, for example, their assumption is because Mario Kart is super fucking popular and lots of people play it, it is a higher value game. Therefore, they feel justified when Mario Kart World comes out to charge you $80+ for a Switch 2 game.
Yeah. And here's the thing I will want to add to that. Let's say Mario Kart World sells really, really well and
Mm-hmm.
people will play it a lot. They're going to look at those metrics and go, wow, we weren't charging enough. When
Mm-hmm.
they bring
Because
it out next time, it'd be $90
so now
or
they've
100.
set themselves up for this variable pricing. I said, like, well, since it was so successful, the next iteration of that series should be twice that price.
And you're not even getting the game on the cart in
Okay,
some
let's
cases.
let's address that fucking digital elephant in the room.
Well, you're getting, and depending on the game, you're getting an electronic access key. You're not really getting the game, and as soon as they decide that they don't want you to have it
So
anymore, they
let's
can just pop
explain
it
that.
off your system.
Smash JT briefly mentioned this previously, and for those of you out here, whether you like him or hate him, I don't care because it's information that's been reiterated since. That basically, a lot of these quote unquote physical versions of these games, they're going to have the little game card in them. But apparently, how this game card is going to work, unless they change it later through Backlash, well, we won't know till they do it, is that it's going to have the game card on there, but what the game card serves is basically as a physical medium with a digital key inside it. So rather than having the game install on it like any other normal game card or game disc, it has an authorization key programmed into it, which allows you to download and access the said game from Nintendo's network so that you can play it on your console.
Oh, cool.
But it
So you can get a right of serfdom just like people with Steam.
basically you're getting a physical version of a Steam key, is what they're making it sound like as of right now,
You
which is
own
not a good
nothing.
fucking idea. Because for all the people who have come at me before going, oh, well, you hate Steam because it's always online, digital, and they check your stuff. Like, but when you get a disc on PS3 or PS4 or PS5 or any of your consoles, well, that's just install data, bruh. What are you talking about? Yes.
Yes, that's
And
a,
since the PC era, when you would install data from a floppy disk or a freaking CD or a DVD drive,
well. There
that's
is
always
a
been an installed disk.
there's a fundamental difference between those. See, you actually physically own that disc with the game
So
data
here's the thing.
on
Let's
it.
say if I'm not playing something like The First Descendant here, I'm going to play Gungrave Gore, right? But I uninstalled it recently. My internet's down, and I'm bored, and I'm like, fuck, I want to play something. Well, the magic of this whole thing is if I take the disc for Gungrave Gore and I put it in my console, what it does is it installs that game from the physical storage media, and then I can fucking play it again without my internet being connected to Sony's asshole.
No, it really comes down to you own a physical thing that contains the actual code, and you own that copy of the code, and you
Yes.
can install it anytime you want and play it anytime. Whereas with Steam and this new thing that Nintendo wants to do, you don't own anything. You have a not even a license. You have a user agreement to be able
Yeah.
to access it, and as soon as any party wants to take it away, they can. For example, you remember the Nooks that they had for Amazon, so you could read like electronic books,
Oh, the Amazon Kindle.
Kindles. Uh, did you know that in their agreement they can simply come in and remove books as they wish, even if you purchase them?
Mm-hmm. And in
So
fact, the
any
the only way they can't do that, and even that's dubious, is if you have the thing installed on your PC. But like the Kindle itself is apparently very susceptible to that. And I will say, for all the bitching I do about Steam, I do have a Steam account. And I will say that even though I don't like the business model for PC gaming nowadays with no real ownership, Steam is a hell of a lot more genuine, customer friendly, and honest than Nintendo has been since the fucking 90s.
well, let's put it like this: if Nintendo gets their way, Nintendo players will be much more like Steam players in that they are effectively a serf.
There'll be Steam players without the good customer service.
They're serfdom. They don't own anything. You're paying exorbitant prices to access something, and the only difference is that Steam has better customer service and better deals. Because hey, if you don't own it, at the very least you could get it cheap. At least that's my part on it. That's what
Fucking
I say.
amazing. This is so brain dead.
I think this is going to ultimately hurt Nintendo, and
And honestly, I hate to say it because there's a lot of things I like Nintendo does, but if this is their model, I won't be buying this generation of Nintendo products until much, much later when I can get it secondhand, maybe. And that's only if they change their established policy on how their games work. If they don't, I'm probably not going to play this generation of Nintendo. I don't care. I can't be bothered with that kind of bullshit.
at this point, if you got to pick between Steam and Nintendo, pick Steam
You might as well just invest in a Steam Deck at
because
that point.
this is a bold-faced attack on the future proofing of things. They don't want you to have access to what they don't want you to have in the future.
They
They
want to
don't
turn
want
their
Nintendos.
they want to turn their entire library into the Nintendo eShop where they can just pluck away, add, or edit anything they want to willy nilly and be damned any kind of, staying power.
A field of broken and dead dreams left behind them.
Fucking brilliant. You got anything else to say?
thanks for joining us, everybody. And hey, give a sub if you enjoyed any of this, or hey, check out Mr. Nobody Presents. I'm cool, I guess.
Have a great day, everybody, and remember to vote with your wallet, because this shit is ridiculous. Have a good fucking day.
Bye.